All right, let's talk about the future. We're about to explore a pretty huge shift in how AI works. You see, we're moving past this idea of AI as just one big single model. Instead, we're stepping into the era of a complete coordinated system. We're calling it the AI operating system. And trust me, this new stack, it's going to define the next decade of tech. So picture this. It's 2027. And yeah, something big has changed. AI is, well, it's not just that chatbot you talk to anymore. It's not just a conversational partner. It's become this powerhouse system that does more than just answer your questions. It actually runs things. We're talking workflows, data management, you name it. It's orchestrating entire digital ecosystems. And that brings us to the core question of this whole deep dive. What if AI just stopped being that single standalone model? What if it became a full-blown operating system? You know, with layers, a proper memory, tools to actually do things, processes to manage tasks, the whole shebang. So let's break down exactly what that looks like. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the old way, the monolithic model, and why it just wasn't cutting it. Then we'll dive into what this new AI operating system actually is, starting with its core, the CPU and memory. From there, we'll see how it takes action with tools and agents. And finally, we'll pull it all together to see the new stack of 2027 in its full glory. All right, first up, the monolithic model. We've got to start here with the problems of the past to really get why things had to change. I mean, this was revolutionary stuff for its time, no doubt about it. But it had some pretty serious flaws that basically forced the creation of something entirely new. So for the longest time, the thinking was really simple. We treated AI like this giant monolith, right? One model, one single endpoint, one big brain that was supposed to do, well, everything. It had to reason, remember, plan, and execute. It's kind of like asking a single genius to not only invent a product, but also run the factory, manage the finances, and handle all the marketing. It's not sustainable. And this is where the cracks really started to show. These monolithic models, they were constantly hallucinating, right? Making things up. And that's because they were guessing from patterns, not actually looking up facts. Their memory was, let's just say, not great, super limited. But the real kicker, they couldn't do anything. They couldn't take actions in the real world. They couldn't coordinate anything complex. They were powerful thinkers, for sure, but they were trapped in a box. And that's exactly the problem the AI OS was built to fix. So how do we get out of that box? Well, this is where the big evolution happens. We stopped trying to build a bigger brain, and instead we built a better system, a truly coordinated system. We built the AI operating system. So what is an AI operating system? Well, think of it like a layered stack of specialized components. The keyword here is specialized. Instead of one model doing everything poorly, you have different parts, and each part does one thing really well. You've got a part for remembering, a part for taking action, and a part for thinking, all orchestrated by a central reasoning engine. It's this divide and conquer approach that makes the whole thing so powerful. And here's where it gets really cool, and honestly, kind of intuitive. The whole thing maps almost perfectly to a regular computer's operating system. This is the key analogy for everything we're going to talk about. The LLM, that's not the whole computer anymore. It's just the CPU, the brain. The memory, that's your databases, acting as RAM in the hard drive. Want to do something? Use tools, which are basically system calls. And the complex tasks, the workflows, those are agents, which are like processes. And tying it all together, you've got an orchestrator, which is the kernel of the whole operation. Okay, let's dive into that a bit deeper. We'll start at the very core of this new system, the CPU and the memory. So, in this new world, the LLM gets a major job change. It's no longer the memory, it's the CPU. Its one and only job is to think, to plan, to decide. It takes your instructions and then it becomes a brilliant delegator. It figures out what needs to be done, calls the right tools for the job, and routes information exactly where it needs to go. Basically, it stops trying to be a walking encyclopedia and starts being a brilliant project manager. Okay, so if the LLM is the CPU, where's the memory? That's where databases come in. We get this incredible tiered memory system. Think of vector databases as the RAM, super fast, semantic memory that understands context and meaning. Then you've got NoSQL, which is kind of like the file system, storing all that messy, flexible, real-world data. And then, the bedrock of it all, SQL databases. That's your hard disk, the permanent, structured, absolute source of truth. And this is the game changer, folks. The LLM no longer has to guess. It can query for facts. This is the moment we finally start to kill hallucinations. All right, so our new system can think. and it can remember facts without making stuff up. That's huge. But how does it actually, do things? For that, we need to move up the stack and talk about tools and agents. This is where AI stops being a passive observer and starts being an active participant. It takes action using what we call tools, and these are exactly what they sound like. They're like system calls in a normal OS. Simple, concrete functions the LLM can call on command. Things like search, update record, send email. The LLM can literally run a query against a database. It's not just talking about what to do, it's doing it. This is the point where it stops being a chatbot and starts being an OS. But what about really complex jobs, stuff that takes multiple steps? For that, the AI OS uses agents. And again, the analogy holds up perfectly. Agents are the processes of the OS. Each agent gets a mission. It has a specific goal, its own little bit of memory to keep track of things, a set of tools it's allowed to use, and a plan to get the job done. So you could have a researcher agent go find information, pass it to a planner agent to create a strategy, which then hands off to an executor agent to actually do the work. This is how you go from just answering a question to running a whole company. Okay, let's zoom out. Let's put all these pieces back together and look at the complete picture. This is the new stack of 2027. So let's run through it one last time, because this is the whole thing right here. The LLM is your CPU, the thinker. Vector DBs are your fast RAM. SQL is your reliable hard drive. Tools are your system calls for taking action. And agents are your processes for getting big jobs done. What this all adds up to is that AI isn't just a model anymore. It's a platform. It's a full stack. It is a genuine operating system. And on top of it, we can build things that were pure science fiction just a few years back. And really, that's what it is. This is the blueprint for the next decade. What we're building here is a machine that can finally, reliably think, remember, act, and coordinate. It's a massive leap beyond what those old monolithic models could ever do. So that's our tour of the AI operating system. But this is just the beginning, right? There's so much more to explore. I'm curious, what part of this new stack excites you the most? Is it the LLM as a CPU, the tiered memory system that kills hallucinations, or maybe the action-taking agents? Drop a comment below and let me know what we should break down next. Thanks for watching.